Rome, thanks so much for taking the time to talk to us today. How you doing?
Doing good, doing good, doing about as good as you can.
Now, obviously, it takes a lot to sit there and watch, rewatch things that have happened in the past. How are you feeling this morning about everything?
Honestly, edit wise, it is what it is. You can't control how they're going to portray you or what's going to get shown. All you can do is know how you played the game and what you actually did out there. And I think that's like my biggest takeaway is watching it all back is just being content in like what I actually know happened and like all the things that weren't shown and things like that. Just being really content with all the things that I was able to do because I mean, if you look at what I was able to do in the span of 6 episodes, that was a lot more than a lot of people are able to do if they make it all the way to the end. So I really just can reflect and look back and say that I had a great time out there.
Now, again, looking back, you got to see things that you didn't see when you were on the island, like people's reactions to you, people reactions to your gameplay. How do you feel about all that now?
Um, I feel like some of it's justified and some of it's not. Like I can understand how some people might feel like, oh, Rome didn't like me out there. There was no hard feelings against anyone out there. I didn't have any ill will against anyone. It was
Right.
as simple as I had an alliance and I was sticking to it. And when you have an alliance, if you're sitting here being kiki and haha with all the people that aren't in your alliance, guess what? The people that are in your alliance are going to start looking at you like maybe you're not actually with us. So of course, if I have an alliance with me, Genevieve, Keyshawn, and Teeny, obviously I'm not going to be as kiki and haha with Saul and Asia. So I think they took it as, oh, Rome doesn't like me, when it was really just I'm not in Rome's alliance, and there's an alliance of four that they're not a part of, and I didn't want to show that I was even somewhat wanting to work with them because that builds distrust with the alliance that I already had.
Looking back, do you think it was a big mistake to target Kyle?
No, honestly, I don't. I would do it again. I targeted Kyle for moral reasons. It wasn't shown, but Kyle had mentioned something on the beach that I was not a fan of.
Right.
And that was the reason why I targeted him. Otherwise, I would have worked with him. I would have been like, okay, cool. You want to get out people that I see as threats too? Like, this is going to be great chaos for me. But Kyle said something about Sue and Caroline that I was not a fan of. It didn't make the edit, so I'm not going to talk about it.
Oh,
But that made me want to go for Kyle instead. I was like, okay, I'm not going to work with this guy. I want you out the game. Like, I don't even want you to last another day on this island. So yeah, so the people know because I obviously relayed what he said to Sue and Caroline. So the people on the island know what he said, but I'm just not going to be the one to repeat it.
right. Now, an ultimatum in all reality is a threat because you're basically saying, hey, either do this or this will happen to you. Do you regret any of your interactions with Saul and how do things stand now? Were you able to talk with him and work through things? Give us an update.
Me and Saul are great. Like me and Saul are perfectly fine. Like we get along great outside of the game. Like and I think that's just so funny. Is like people feel like it was all like outside of the game stuff, or like Rome was following him around and being all demeaning and things like that. Like no, it was all in the aspects of the game. Like I didn't start following Saul around until after the ultimatum. Like I know it's edited to make it look like I was following him before. Like no, if you even look at my outfit, I'm literally wearing the outfit that I'm wearing
Right.
after I gave Soul the ultimatum. So like it's pretty obvious that it was edited out of order if people pay attention. But like, it's funny because we were literally like an hour before tribal when I gave Soul the ultimatum. I'm sitting here going hard as possible for my alliance. We're doing everything we can to get his shot in the dark to make sure, okay, if we get his shot in the dark, then we're good to go as four heading into the next challenge and potentially the merge. And so, we were like, you know what, let's try to do it. And it didn't show, but I didn't only ask Keyshawn if it was a good idea to give Saul the ultimatum. I also asked Genevieve. I also asked Teeny. They all said it was a good idea. So I was like, cool, let me do it. And then once I did it, everyone was kind of like, okay, maybe this actually wasn't a good idea. And so then I went up to Saul and I apologized to Saul once. And the thing is, nobody had to tell me to go apologize to Saul or things like that.
Right.
I just knew that like, hey, this probably made Saul feel like a really, really bad type of way. So like, let me
Right.
go ahead and be the bigger man and apologize first. Nobody told me to apologize. That was just me being an actually good person, which I was kind of surprised they even left in at this point based off the edit. So I was like, wow, that's pretty surprising. So yeah, they showed like 8 seconds of a 2 minute apology, but it was a genuine apology for sure. And I mean, Saul accepted it, and then we voted together that night. So it is what it is.
What was your dynamic with Saul? Because I mean, you were friends, enemies, friends, enemies. How was it very surprising to you how things all worked out?
No, it really wasn't that surprising. Like that's the thing is like I wasn't the only one that didn't see eye to eye with Saul. It was also Genevieve. Like me and
Right.
Genevieve both had issues with Saul. Granted, Genevieve's weren't like shown as much, mainly because she wasn't as like as on the screen pretty much of the
Right,
first few episodes. But yeah,
right.
there was a lot of moments where there was a lot of Bruce vibes coming from Saul in a way that weren't shown. So like we can understand, like I can understand watching it why that wasn't shown, because you got to have a protagonist and an antagonist. So I understand if they're gonna paint me as the villain, they got to paint Saul as the hero. So they don't want to show like us like going back and forth and what could cause me to feel a way toward him in the game. But yeah, it was simple things like us sitting on the beach at night and me talking about, hey, so maybe we should talk about who we should sit out tomorrow for the immunity challenge, and Saul being like, bro, stop thinking about tomorrow, stop thinking about what we might have to do and things like that. And I'm like, bro, like it's Survivor. I can't think about what we have to do in the future. Like this is a decision we have to make, is sitting someone out. And like he didn't want me to think about that. He's like, bro, worry about that when it comes to it. And I'm just like, bro, like we got to talk about this now. And then what happens? We get to the challenge, and then Jeff's like, all right, Lavo, who's sitting out? And we're like, shoot, we don't know yet. Like so we had to talk about it for a whole minute. So yeah, it was just little things like that that didn't get shown. That was why we didn't get along. So yeah.
Now, speaking of Genevieve, I mean, again, you didn't get to see a lot of what was going on behind the scenes with her. Were you surprised with how her view towards you and some of the comments she made and things like that?
Not really. I mean, I was playing hard. I was playing a really fast game.
Yeah.
So like early on, like everything made sense. Like with me and Genevieve, like me and her like clicked off the rip. We had an alliance from the jump. Literally like while Keyshawn and Asia were doing the first marooning challenge puzzle, me and Genevieve literally locked in an alliance, like fully covered in mud. So like we literally were aligned off the rip. And so we had a bunch of strategy talk. We made sure that we didn't talk during the day. Like me and Genevieve probably talked for like an hour on the beach every single night. And it was never shown. Like me and Genevieve were extremely tight. We talked about our alliance and things like that. And yeah, I was just a very loyal player, and she was my number one out there. I also felt like I could trust Teeny, and I felt like I could trust Keyshawn as well. So that's why I was so surprised once Keyshawn tried to flip the vote onto me.
Now, a lot of people I've talked to in the past said they're kind of forced to play a very quick, aggressive game when you have three tribes and the numbers are low. You're put it. It's right from the jump. You got to play. Look, you played a pretty aggressive, in-your-face game, as the edit shows. Do you regret anything looking back, or are you happy with how things turned out?
Honestly, no, I don't regret anything. Looking back on it, I had the experience of a lifetime. It's a game, and in the moment, I did everything that I felt like was the best option for me to move further. I got myself in some hot water a couple times. I was able to figure my way out of it, and it's just all about moving on and pushing through. So like at the end of the day, no, I don't regret anything out there. I had a blast, and I had a ton of fun. And like if I would have been playing like a bump on a log, guess what? A lot of people wouldn't be talking about me. A lot of people wouldn't be, like saying that they hope to see me back eventually, things like that. Like a lot of people would just be like, oh, he's just another pre-merger. And that's pretty much everyone's worst nightmare, is just to be a forgotten survivor. So I wouldn't regret anything, because I feel like I did a pretty good job of not being forgotten. So yeah.
Now, as a host and a commentator, what was it like to sit in that chair that only Jeff Probst has ever sat in?
It was unreal. Like honestly, that was one of the most awesome moments of my life. Like period. Like you said, I'm a host, so like I'm on stage a lot. I'm having to address crowds, things like that. And for Jeff to pretty much like be like, "Hey, break down why this advantage isn't good in my seat," like was really awesome, because it's like, man, like you just get to let me roast your advantage. You get to let me also do what I'm good at. Like this is where I can shine. And so it was awesome just being able to get that opportunity, and also to nail it as well, knowing that I didn't stutter, that I didn't mess up at all. I didn't mess up any names. I broke down exactly like why it wasn't great. And Jeff gave me a fist bump at the end. Like, I mean, listen, there is no better feeling. So like that's why, like, if I'm gonna get voted out, that's the best way to get voted out, is you get the ultimate props from Jeff. And like everyone even applauded for me as well while I got voted out. So like no one else got an applause the whole pre-merge. So it's like, we'll see. But yeah, I honestly don't regret anything. Like it was the best experience ever, and getting to be able to sit in that seat and even talk about being his protege, like just having that back and forth saying we'll talk later. Like that's just awesome to be able to have, So yeah, I'm glad all that was shown.
Now, I asked this to all the survivors because, again, we only ever get to see a very small portion of your journey. Is there anything that about your journey, whether it was a one-on-one with somebody, a bonding moment, was there anything that you wish fans and viewers got to see about your journey?
Mainly the deleted secret scene. I think the secret scene where I was catching fish, I think that that one is a huge one that shows like a lot of my personality and a lot of who I am as a person. Um, that one was definitely disappointing to not see make the main edit, but you know, you understand you gotta, you know, they can't fit everything into
Right,
90-minute episodes, you know. So
right.
you know, you understand that not everything can be shown. So I think that also my social game, like I understand that the first vote was very boring from Lavo, the Asia vote. Like it was an extremely boring vote in my opinion, just because
Right.
it was always going to be one of them two. And the edit made it seem like because of my advantages in my idol that they weren't going to vote for me. They weren't going to vote for me in Genevieve regardless if I had the advantages or idol. Like it was going to be Saul or Asia from the jump because we had that strong of an alliance that nobody wanted to flip on for the first vote. So it's really interesting that it didn't get shown my social game pretty much at all, that I got this 4-person alliance, and you know I was super confident, and it's like it's funny that it's shown that like I'm super confident and everyone's like, why is he so confident? It's like because I had an idol, had a steal vote, had an alliance I was super confident in heading into the first vote. What's there not to be confident about, you know? So yeah, that's pretty much it.
One last question. Now, I've always said if I ever went on Survivor, Big Brother, anything like that, I would be playing for my friends and family. I don't care what fans think. I don't care about any of that stuff. That's who I'm there for, and that's who I'm going to win for. Looking back, you're pretty much portrayed as the villain this year. That at least that's what the edit shows. Do you feel bad about it? What are your feelings about being portrayed the way you are?
I mean, nobody expects to go on Survivor and to see like probably like what a 40-minute montage of my lowest moments be portrayed as like my edit. Like I don't think anyone envisions that happening.
Yeah.
Like honestly, what I thought it might sound crazy. I thought I was gonna get a hero edit coming out of Survivor. I'm like, man, I'm catching fish for my tribe. I got to sit in Jeff's seat. Like, you know, like I'm like, man, I'm like winning challenges for my tribe, things like that. Like I'm also having crazy down moments as well. Like, you know, I'm pouring my heart out. I'm like, man, I'm gonna get a hero edit. So I'm like, man, it was just hilarious seeing it all back, and they're like only showing like my worst moments. And I'm just like, okay, this is not what I was expecting. But at the end of the day, like I said, I know what I did out there. The people on my tribe know what I did out there, and you know, it is what it is. I'm just glad that the fans were entertained.
Well, Rome, it was great talking to you today. All the best of luck in the future. And it was great watching you. You can't say you weren't interesting or you didn't impact the season because you certainly did.
Thank you so much. Thank you.